Hi, I'm Thomas Nickerson. I'm a fourth grade teacher in Massachusetts, and you're going to watch me teach a small group from the Supporting All Writers book. This is called Using Our Identity Maps to Generate Story Ideas. I think this is a great lesson that you could use either as a small group or as whole class instruction early in the year, because it really gets students thinking about their identity, the visible and invisible parts, and student identity is so important to Writers Workshop that I think this is a great way to launch into a brand new school year. All right, so welcome writers. Something that can happen when you're starting a writing project very early in the school year is you can get stuck, you can get writer's block, and so I want to let you know that writers, when they're stuck, often come together. So we're here together to hopefully get you unstuck, and I want to share with you a tool that we can use, and that's an identity web. So what can be really great about an identity web is it shares different parts of your identity, parts that are visible, parts that are invisible, the parts that you're ready to share today. And I have my web right here. So you can see I've included the people I love, some of the things I celebrate, some of my traits, things that I love to do. So why don't you go ahead and open your writer's notebooks to a blank page or pages, however you want. And I'm going to have you create one of these tools for yourselves too. So center your name, the name you like to be called. And then I want you to start thinking about some of the things that make you special. Like, you might include like who you love. People, animals that are in your lives that you love. You might also be thinking about like things that you play. Like if you're someone who does sports or an after-school program, you love to act or perform, you might think about something you play or something that you do. You might be someone who plays a musical instrument. You might also think about like visible and invisible identity, things that you use. Like, are you someone who wears glasses? You might think about parts of the school day. In the school that you love to do? Are you a mathematician, a writer? If you love books, what are some books that you love? So the authors that you enjoy reading. Do you love music? What sort of music do you like? Are there artists? Are there genres that you really enjoy? And you might even think about like where you live. What's your house like? What's our town like? Think about what you wear clothes-wise, like thinking about the clothes that you're wearing today might tell a bit of a story about who you are. You might have a nickname that goes along with what you wear. Or even like where you're from. Yeah, where you're from. You always lived in one place. Are your parents or your grandparents from a different place that you feel a special connection to? Oh, so that's like a part of your identity. If you're ready to share, you can definitely add on here too. Yeah, your nicknames. And then I'm going to pause you here in a moment because I see your identity web's coming to life right now. And I want you to point at like one or two things on your identity web that you feel like, oh, there's a moment that part of my identity really shone through. You might think about like a time you were really creative, or like if you love yo-yos, like when was a time you remember playing a yo-yo that will always stick with you? If you love wildlife, you might think about like, what's a time in wildlife where I was like really invested in what I was doing?
Should we write it down?
I'm actually wondering if one of you would be willing to try storytelling. Because now that we're together, does one of you have a story you can tell?
I have one.
Okay.
So for my poetry, I really enjoy writing poems. So one night it was at winter and everyone else was asleep, and I was like bored, so I just found a pen and paper, and I was just looking at everything around me outside in nature. And I just wrote a poem. I left it on my parents' bed that night, and that like kind of stuck with me. Like my mom still has that poem on her dresser drawer.
So that's one of those things that you can come back to, right?
Yeah.
What's something that you were thinking about in your identity web that you could maybe tell a story about the time that thing shone through?
Well, I really liked your like graphic novels in it. And I don't know, I'll always remember that.
What's like one part of the graphic novel you really remember?
I remember writing the first one.
Was it like getting started on the story spark, sort of? Do you remember where you were? Like, could you tell it, like thinking about like where you were in our classroom?
I was just in my desk or at this desk.
You're sitting at the desk. Graham, what about you?
Yeah, for basketball, Tri-Town, which is like town league. We were playing game against the other Lincoln team, my Lincoln team, and we were down points. And then, I don't even really remember everything. I just zoned out.
Remember being down in points. Do you remember how the
Yes.
game ended?
I scored 6 straight and we tied.
Oh, okay. Nice. And so that's kind of like the time that like your basketball identity like really shone through, right?
No, and then yeah, we tied the game, which is probably the best ending. And yeah, I don't even remember like the first part of the game. Just like once it was like down 2 minutes. I
Sure.
just
Yeah, that's
zoned
fine.
out.
Yeah.
Okay. And once the game ended, I was like, I'm here.
I tied it. So writers, what you might think about is now that you've practiced storytelling, you might focus on that one piece of your identity, that one moment that you were thinking of that shone through, and go back to your desk and start writing. So off you go.